Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Crypto Live with Alex. This one today will be very short. We're gonna go over a Bitcoin chart on a larger time frame. So on the let's say macro developments in the last couple of days, we have seen CPI moving relatively, I would say, significantly lower from 6 to 5.1, 5.2 was the number expected, and PPI also today dropped lower. So obviously inflation is most likely going to continue moving down because it's a lagging data. We might see commodities in the next couple of weeks they're pushing on the upside, so we might see a little bit, maybe a bit of a higher CPI in the next couple, but not much. So I do expect back and forth, but it seems that around 5% is pretty much anchored. So I do not expect this to see moving sharply higher, at least in some considerable time ahead. Of course, if we have some sudden shocks, that might be the case, but for now, as the things are, we are definitely seeing inflation moving lower. Some of the components in the CPI, you can look that by yourself by going there, are pretty stubborn in an inflationary move, and some of them are coming sharply lower. So yeah, so in general, the macro picture that we presented are pretty much are still alive. We are getting yields a bit lower. They're starting to move on a lower range of a sideways, and dollar is lower. So that's all kind of propels a little bit more stocks on the upside. But in general, recession fears are starting to kind of grow. So our scenario is that inflation will go down. Basically, market will be more afraid now of a recession than inflationary fear, because obviously inflation is moving steadily lower, and we're gonna get probably some low numbers, and then Fed will start to cut rates in order to pull up the economy from recession, which will be the risk on, crypto on, moving on the upside, and that all of my actually happen in the next couple of months. So for today, we're just going to do a Bitcoin larger time frame chart. So this is the chart that I've been tracking for years now with our members, and one of the things that I have pointed out is this. This is a weekly chart. Is this 200 moving average? So while the Bitcoin was moving lower, we dropped below it, and also this channel was very important for a potential support. If you see from 2014, the previous drops from this 200 moving average was pretty small, kind of a week or two, and then Bitcoin started to move firmly on the upside. Here we don't even have a drop below it. We stopped, we moved on the upside. This was a COVID break here, which lasted 2-3 weeks, and then we started to move further because we had a lots of stimulus and liquidity was ample into the system. And then, of course, when we start moving rates on the higher, inflation moves up, we started to move down as the liquidity drained. So Bitcoin is still a liquidity-driven asset, and we keep monitoring that as well. Of course, the rates and the position of rates, inflation, and all of that data that kind of affects NASDAQ and SMH as a subsector, and a couple of other things. Dollar as well definitely influence the world liquidity, and Bitcoin actually behaves on a precipice of that. Still, it's not kind of an asset class which works by itself. So in that manner, from these lows and a pretty significant penetration of the 200 moving average, I mean significant if you look this other ones, we are crawling back. Currently, you have also heard people here in this range calling Bitcoin to go to 10K, 5K, 4K, all of that stuff, but it came back. And if we make a closer look, we are trading now above 200 moving average, above this channel line, and I think we are tracing out a 5-way move up, which will be finished pretty soon around 32, 33K, and then I'm gonna expect some type of a pullback during May, June, July, and afterwards I will expect this rally to continue. Of course, if I'm wrong, I've been wrong many times, and this might be just an ABC and we continue lower in markets tanks, of course, on the S&P and Nasdaq, but we still don't see that happening on stock markets. So I'm not going to go into a scenario which for now it's less probable. So we're gonna stay on a bullish side, tracking this scenario here. If I go on a smaller time frame, this will be a 5 waves up, a pullback in a wave 2, perfectly on the 200 moving average. Retracement levels was around 50%, then sharp wave 3 on the upside, small triangle, and consolidation, and now we are breaking out that triangle on the upside for I think this target around 32, 33, from where I should expect we start a larger correction, which will bring us back to 25 at kind of a highest levels, back to even 2022 as the worst case scenario if we get something more complex on this bullish presentation. So if we look the whole chart on the weekly level, we do expect this to be some type of wave 3 on the upside. So from the beginning of 2010 we have this as 1-2. We are now working intermediary degree wave 3, and that is actually, if you close up the picture, calls for a wave 1 and 2, up in 3, some type of a flat in 4, an expanded flat, and now we are starting a new upside cycle based on our macro assessments, and also we do think that the other asset classes will run on the upside and take cryptos and a couple of other asset classes further higher for the 2024-25 and potentially beginning of 26, from where we do see a start of a larger move down in Bitcoin, either in some type of a triangle or a sharper move. But this one, if we get to these levels around 100K and above, the next pullback will be pretty drastic in one form or the other. So this is the scenario we are working already from 2018. So we are tracking this for a long time. And for now it works. There is no reason to change it unless we see a huge breakout of this wave count invalidation levels. I've mentioned that in the previous Crypto Labs much more time. So I see potentially some type of developments soon on the markets, that we get some type of correction and then continuation. So we're gonna stay on that, and we're gonna follow this path. RSI also comes a little bit on a higher level, so that's kind of agrees. We have a little bit more on the upside, maybe a week or two in slow pace, and then we reverse and come back to lower levels. So yeah, so that's it, guys, for the today's edition. We do track also the other ones. Let me just see the comments. And hi Anne, how are you? Sanjeev Singla say Elliott Wave totally wrong. Daily change Elliott Wave views. I don't have a problem with changing my outlook. My overall outlook it is pretty fixed because it's on weekly, but daily you have to sometimes readjust what is going on because there is a lot of factors in. Our goal is actually to catch this, and we were pretty much announcing the move on the upside from here in advance. So I think it works, but it again depends who is behind the wheel. So I will not kind of judge overall methodology from one perspective. So it all depends who is running it, in my opinion. So in my opinion, Elliott Wave is a beautiful methodology, but you need to know how to use it and have a lot of experience. So it's not for somebody which is kind of a new baby or doesn't have much of a market experience and actually cannot grasp it, what the Elliott Wave actually is saying. So it's a probability methodology. It's not fixed, as nothing is fixed on the market. So there you go. So if you want to try it, you need to put a lot of effort, a lot of mistakes to kind of get anywhere with it. So it's not for everybody. Okay, so yeah, okay, so let's look one chart and let's complete today's streams. The Schnitzel, one of the guests, wants to see Bell USDT. I don't think we ever looked at one. Bell USDT. Let me just find that one. I don't know. It's not very appealing chart. It doesn't have so much of a directional move. So I don't know what's going on here. I will be more looking for a sideways price action here, as it moves sideways almost all the time. So there is a range. There is no directional moves here. This was directional and then a pullback, and this tried to move on the upside and failed. Usually when I see this type of charts, I don't even label it, I just skip it. So you don't have to trade every chart, of course. The only thing which will become kind of appealing to me in this chart, if we see some type of a breakout on the upside, and then I will consider this chart to be workable. Okay, so for now I don't see anything. I see a support level around 0.47. If we break that support levels, next one will be 0.2016 on the downside. If we break the upper middle line of this channel, we might getting higher. So it's just a range about just about the range about chart, which usually I will not tend to have any anticipation in it. Yeah, so Ethereum, Bitcoin still works very good. Our main case scenario is still working, so we are still looking Ethereum to be stronger than Bitcoin in the next possible move on the upside. So our Ethereum Bitcoin chart, we showed that many times on the Crypto Lab, and it's still pretty functional. We are kind of searching for the wave 2. We came to equality currently, so we are still looking for a further continuation on the upside. So 1, 2, up in 3, 4, and 5. If this morphs into some type of a triangle, it's still okay, but it's still going to continue on the upside. So for now, I think we're going to see, at least in the first moves, when the crypto really starts to move on the upside, because this is just a kind of a warm-up. If our main thesis plays out that Fed starts to move rates lower because the inflation shows further movement to the downside, and of course they don't want to tank economy on higher rates. We have seen a couple of banks going into red and all sorts of other things. Whatever happens when the rates are higher, especially in the too indebted economy or world debt economy. So yeah, so daily 200 on Ethereum Bitcoin is, as you can see, we are trying to break it on the upside, not successfully so far. It sits at 0.070. So I think once we get above it in this area, we can basically hammer this out, that probability will be higher that we're going to go and continue further on the upside. So okay, so thank you guys for being with us. So if you want to check us out and see our work, you can go to tradinganalysis.com. We have a crypto membership. We go over lots of cryptocurrencies. We have a Discord channel, members webinars, crypto streams, and lots of other stuff. So if you want to see some more, you can find us there, and see you next week, guys. So stay well, and bye-bye.